Some people say it's one of the most powerful forces to exist, while others argue if it's even real. So before we begin today, I want you to pause for a second and take a deep breath. Really breathe into your heart and notice that feeling. That is love. Peace, alignment, acceptance. Many people view love as just an emotion, but the truth is, love is so much more. Love is energy, and it has the power to move and shape us. But the paradox with love is, while it exists everywhere, most of us only experience it through the lens of our own trauma. So today, we are asking, what is love really? Everything we do is fueled by our desire to learn and grow, because we believe that what we seek is also seeking us.
When we first did the episode for love, afterwards we needed to sit down and have a whole conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we finally got to this topic.
So a little bit of backstory, actually, we did do this episode before. Yeah. And it was a 2-hour-long rampage.
And we came to war. She wore red and I wore purple. And subconsciously, we're at war with each other because love to me is divine love.
Yes.
And to her, it's love, just attraction, full force ahead. And then look at this episode. We're both wearing white.
I think now we're so in alignment because we went through all of the layers of what love is not. And now we're going to discuss what love really is.
And it's so beautiful because I'm an INFJ and she's an ENFJ. And the fact that I got you, I took you on a whole journey of a roller coaster ride to get you here so that we can kind of see eye to eye, because I don't disagree with you. There's so much joy in physicality and being physically in love. But I feel ultimately love can only be divine love.
That's beautifully said. And I want to know what your definition of divine love is.
It's just exactly what you just said. You said love is in all things.
Yeah.
Or did you say energy? Love is energy?
Yeah.
What was the line?
Love is energy.
Okay, and everything is energy. So everything is ultimately God. Especially everything with consciousness is ultimately God. And therefore, everything is love because everything is energy.
See, I love...
And energy is love. It's all one
universal force.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful because I think what we did in the last few episodes is, like you said, we went on this journey trying to define all the things love is not. Love is not fear. Love is not attachment. Love is not attraction. It has roots that are so much deeper, almost like a tree.
And love also is not lust.
True.
And that's one of the other things that I feel when it comes to physicality, a lot of people forget. And the opposite, or one of the other nemesises, or maybe another thief that steals love's face or mask is lust. That's why lust is one of the 7 layers, 7 deadly sins, because it's the opposite of love.
Do you want to elaborate more on that? Why is lust the opposite of love?
Because especially in today's world, when you think about how love is interpreted in the media, it's always associated with something lustful. And that's the only description of love that we're fed all the time. When we think of all of our favorite movies and poetries or divine definitions of love, even in physical form. For example, think of Pride and Prejudice or sonnets, poetry, Rumi's work. It's all associated with love, but love at its purest form, love of nature, love of animals, love of life, love of living. And so now, instead of that, we have love in the form of 50 things about love. These movies that you see all the time, that they're very lustful, and that's how it's being pushed down our throats. So whenever we want the real definition of love or love stories, we always have to refer to things that are
rooted in lust.
No, rooted, we have to go way back in history to find things that are purely about love. Even all of think about it. Do you know any modern movies that love stories?
That are good love stories? No.
No, it's always Romeo and Juliet. I know a lot of Persian ones.
I would actually agree with you and disagree in the sense that I think the way that love is portrayed in the media, yes, there is a lot of lust in it, but I also think we've really gone into this concept of the romanticization of heartbreak. So even if you think of Shakespeare, the key takeaway that I get from Shakespeare is that love somehow involves loss. It's not abundant, but the definition of love you gave earlier is that love is a universal force that exists everywhere. I feel like so many of us view love through a lens of lack because of everything that we see on media platforms, in movies, online. Everything portrays this idea that if a love isn't hurtful, if it doesn't take over your heart and break it into a million pieces, then somehow it's not powerful. And I think true love is the complete opposite of that.
I 100% agree with your thing, but also what I'm saying is that in order to like get an experience or like think of love, like the schemas that we have of love are like ancient stories. Okay, a lot of them are ancient or from like decades ago. You're right, Western love does romanticize heartbreak, but not when it came to the East. Our love stories were not heartbreaks. Our love stories were the stories of like the self with the higher self. It was always so much more. There's so much ancient knowledge in the East. I don't think specifically Eastern love stories are like that, but you're right. I feel like a lot of love stories, even our main love stories, are always rooted in romanticizing heartbreak.
Yeah, like when I think of Shakespeare, for example, like fun fact, Shakespeare mentioned the word love 2,000 times in his plays, poetry, and sonnets. But when I think of the way that love was portrayed specifically in the Romantic era, you have this depiction of love that is deeply rooted in loss and deeply rooted in the idea that you need to be willing to die for that which you love. And I don't know if I agree with that. What do you think about that perception of it?
I was watching something like a YouTube video, and there's a guy that I watch for like Quran interpretation, and he's like a Persian guy. And I don't know if it's because I always say this. I say it was like Saudis who brought us the Quran, but it was the Persians who made us fall in love with Islam. And I feel like when I read like or when I hear any interpretation of Quran in like the Persian language, because Farsi is very rooted in like love. There's so many ways to express forms of love. And he was like, the word Quran, like it's very interesting that Shakespeare mentioned love 2,000 times, but in the Quran, the word love is never mentioned. But this guy was arguing that when you say hamd, it's the equivalent of love. Like when hamd, the word hamd is mentioned, and hamd is like surrenderance or all glory to that which is, and I think to me that's love. It's like that's surrenderance. It's like bowing down to like, because love doesn't have any ego. You know, when you also like somebody regardless of the self you've built, that's when you know you love them regardless. Like a mother-child relationship. A lot of like platonic relationship nowadays have love in them because it's love in the form of surrenderance, like a friendship. Like again, Shams and Rumi, because they were like two males who were just bettering each other with working on themselves. But anyway, Shams is Rumi's higher self. A lot of people think he's an actual person.
Oh,
but he's
really?
Not. Yeah.
I actually don't know enough about Rumi. When you said the word Shams, I assumed it was Rumi's lover.
Yeah, a lot of people think that they were gay, actually. But
Really?
it's not. Shams is not a real person. Shams is Rumi's higher self. Or like the ultimate self, like Rumi's ultimate self, which is God. And all his love letters or like poetic love stories that because he has a lot of stories as well. It's all between Shams and the word Shams, or like when he mentions Shams of Tabriz, he's talking about himself.
That's beautiful. Is that why you love that name?
Yeah.
Because I know you like that name. Won't give any spoilers.
Yeah. Okay, tell me.
So, okay. I don't know what I want to dive into today because I feel like we've talked about the biology of attraction, of attachment, of everything. We understand, guys, how it works in the brain. Oxytocin, vasopressin, dopamine.
Yeah.
So it feels rewarding being around the person that you love. But I think, interestingly enough, one thing that we didn't necessarily go into is love in the modern world. And I think the way that, I think if you meet a lot of people today, they will tell you that it's extremely difficult to find love. They will tell you that love does not exist everywhere, that it's so hard to meet your person. And I kind of want us to dive into the reasons why you think that is. Like, if you think back to the 1950s or 1960s, even the 1990s, there's this idea that love was so much more abundant and easy to find, versus today in the modern world, all I hear is people complaining about dating, complaining about their love lives, complaining that they do not know how to find love. And I know for you, for example, you distinguish between kind of this universal love that exists, but then I also think obviously a big component of that is the love that exists between human beings, because at the end of the day, we are mirrors of that higher force, right? So I kind of want us to dive into that. Like, why is it so hard in the modern world to find love?
I feel like you are right. Every other podcast or the most searched topic online ever is actually how to find love or how to manifest or like wish for a better life than what you currently have. To me, honestly, I would be the worst person to give anybody advice on this matter because I have my own belief systems and I don't date. So I wouldn't know what to tell people. Like, I haven't found love in the way that they want to find love, which is like a relationship. But to me, I feel like, because to me love is, sometimes now I go outside and I just sit by the like playground area that we have, and maybe I'm sad, and then like a wind, like there's a breeze, and like in that moment I feel like, or like God is like touching or like soothing me in like my hair, or like when the wind is blowing into my hair and stuff. And like when I go outside, I'm in love with so many things, like the sky or the clouds, the smallest things. Like sometimes I go into like DIFC or like a place where it's very crowded, or like a workspace, and I see a bird and I just watch the bird, and they're so interesting to me that I fall in love with them, like how cute they are, the way that they live, or if they have a baby. It's just, everything is so interesting to me that I feel like I'm in love at all times. Like life is almost like poetic to me. It's so beautiful. So I feel like even in the 1960s, their idea of love, or how easily it was to find love, it was based on the fact that a lot of people were married. And marriage was always based upon an exchange of goods and services. So it was either for status or family bonds or relationships, and it was almost like a medallion or like a brooch of honor that you would put in society to label you. You know how generals have these like accomplishments? It's like an accomplishment so that people know that you are tolerable or agreeable, and you know how to abide by a system. It was never out of love. And that's why a lot of us as a society and as a generation, we're breaking patterns. That's why a lot of us now don't want to get married. So we're chain breakers. If we have a problem with relationships more so now than ever, is because we're looking back on how it was done and we want to change things.
I agree with that. And I do agree we want to change things, but I distinguish between love and marriage. I agree that marriage was obviously more of a contractual agreement, right? You got married in exchange for land, in exchange for goods, in exchange for status. But in the modern world, I think even if marriage is not as important to us, I think everyone wants love. Everyone wants to have a person that they can come back to that truly understands them and sees them for all that they are. To me, I think that's what love is. I feel like it's that feeling when you're able to see something fully in its good and its bad and still be in awe of the beauty of it. So like you said, when you go outside and maybe the sun is hitting your head and maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable, but then that breeze touches your skin. So you have the good and the bad, and you're in awe of all of it. And I think that's the ultimate type of love we all strive to have in our lives, where you're in awe of the other person and they are in awe of you almost. But that type of love, I think, is so hard to find because modern day dating, I think, has bombarded us with this idea of infinite choice. So if you go like online and you scroll...
You're so beautiful.
Thank you. I'm thinking you're beautiful too.
Bro, you're so mesmerizing.
See, I think, okay, this is another thing.
Like, how are your eyes real?
I love you.
Okay, tell me.
Are you kidding? I'm mesmerized by you.
No, tell me. I just want to hear what you have to say to me. Talk to me.
I love the way you look at me. See, this is what love is.
Yeah,
It's literally being in awe of the other person.
And you don't necessarily have to get that from somebody that you're married to.
No, 100%.
My dog is in awe of me, no, like regardless.
Yeah. Why do you think people love dogs?
Yeah,
Because no matter what you do, you could be the worst person on earth and your dog will love you. Obviously not saying that.
Like sometimes a good conversation arouses my soul. Like when you were speaking, your words were brushing up on me.
Ooh.
Really, like sometimes you analyze me and I feel like a fossil where like a brush is like touching me and it's like just like dusting away the breeze that are on my soul. Your words do that to me.
But I think that's the power of words, and your words also do that with me. I think because we have these deep conversations, and I think one day we should do the idea where we do like a live, almost healing session on each other.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really powerful to see how it's done. I think it's crazy because I have conversations even with other people where you just say one sentence and it's almost like years of trauma and baggage has like lifted off of their shoulders, because I think words have the power to do that. Like you're literally changing someone's perception with what you're saying.
But also, it's also like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You need to have ears that are willing to listen to. Because sometimes you'll be talking and it could be the most beautiful words. It could be almost poetic the way that you're expressing yourself. And if those ears, sukmum bukmum,
Yeah.
they are deaf and they are blind by choice.
It's so true
And that is a sin.
but it's true because you can make someone listen, but you can't make them hear you. Or is it the other way around?
You
I
can
don't know.
take a horse to the water. You can't make it drink.
100%.
So.
No, it's very true.
But you know what you were saying to the topic of like marriage, you made like a good point. You were talking about, before I made a comment that like we lost track, you were talking about just like marriage and like everybody wanting a partner so that they can feel those things with. Number one, you don't need a partner to feel those certain emotions. Second, if we go, I say this over and over again, if your glass is empty, if you don't feel that fulfillment within yourself, there is no way you can give it to somebody else. And most people who desire that are wrongfully doing so, because it's all, again, it's like a blind man having the power of an atomic bomb. You can desire all you want. You don't, I don't want to say deserve, but like you have not come to the understanding, or you don't have the resonance to have a partner like that. So what you end up attracting, because you are not at your best self, and best self, I don't mean that in the sense of like you don't have the right car, the right clothes. It's not a physical thing that I'm mentioning. When you don't have that resonance of energy, when you're not vibrating at that level of love, you cannot have it. So therefore you settle for contractual agreements. You give me this and I'll give you that in return.
But I think that literally encapsulates what modern day dating has become. If you think about it, people don't date for who the person is. They date for what they want from them almost. It's like you want a certain idea, you want a certain life, you want certain luxuries that you think a person will grant you. And it's almost very materialistic.
It is almost their egos getting married. It's the self that they have built based on the fears and the traumas of their past, now trying to find a partner. And then they get married, and then in 2 years or like 3 years, they get divorces, and they're like, oh, how could this happen to me? It's because you attracted from a place of lack. You are your ego. You are the self that is you have built, and now you are mirroring, or like your reflection is looking back at you in the form of a husband. Or the form of your kids, and that's why maybe you don't like your kids, because they are you.
But that's so true. I think the worst thing we can do, or the worst thing that we do, is that we try to attract the love that we want while we're in such a low frequency. And actually, statistically, the number one predictor of a happy relationship is the way that you felt before you got into that relationship. So if you're unhappy before you get into a relationship, that person is not going to fix you or help you or heal you. You're actually just going to become both more miserable. And I think so many people don't realize that. They look to others to fill up their own cup, but the truth is you can only drink your own water. You can't drink someone else's.
Yeah, and that's why I love the term energetical vampires. A lot of people's are The Walking Dead is not a series you should watch. It's the life that you live. Everyone is an energetical vampire. They will suck on your energy field. And when I see dating shows nowadays, because like to us now in modern day, people have to go on reality TV. Also, another thing, again, love has become so lustful because it's almost like clicking and, you know what I mean? So, when I watch like these reality shows and stuff, it's literally people's worst nightmares being reflected back to them.
So can you actually, before you get into that, because I do want us to talk about reality TV, can you explain the concept of energetic vampires? Because this is a term that you've introduced to me and we use it a lot in our conversations, but I feel like it's not something everyone understands.
I would have to do an entire episode on it because it's so complex and because I know how it works scientifically, and there's a lot of studies with quantum physics that proves this. So I would have to like dive into it deeper. What I would say is that when I say you need to become your best self, the reason why a lot of people want that love in this realm is because in all ancient textbooks, including the Quran or books that are religious that show us a way of life, a lot of people use the Quran in like a sense that it's a rule book, but it is like almost like a roadmap to ascension, to becoming the best self. And so when when all your 7 bodies are encapsulated with light, you almost energetically in this realm, you start looking like a star. And when that happens, your energy field is so intense that it draws in your soulmate. When only 2 light beings can attract a nasib. And so a lot of people ache for that because we all have a counterpart to our soul. But when you have a society that's built on advertising lust, what ends up happening is that people want to give love a time frame. They want to meet before they're 30, meet that person, get married to that person, have kids with that person, because it's almost like they have to do these things. If you don't have those brooches as a general, you're incomplete. You're an imbecile. Like you're just walking around like an ape. You need these things. You need to go to school. If I was sitting here and I was speaking without a degree or any accomplishments, people might not even take you seriously or like want to hear anything you have to say. So you almost have to do those things. One of the reasons I tell people I can't give dating advice is because if you know me, you wouldn't want dating advice from me, because they're like, what does she know? She doesn't love anybody. If she could find love, she would find it in her whole life. Why is she alone? But they don't understand that being alone doesn't mean I'm lonely.
And being alone doesn't mean you don't have love.
Exactly.
No, it's very true. And I think that is so beautifully well said. I don't have anything to touch on because it's very true. I think we hear that term a lot where it's like you have to love yourself to be able to love others. But beyond just loving yourself, I think there's a powerful force in just loving everything that exists around you. And I think so many times we get fixated on the idea of having a perfect person, someone who is really good on paper, or all the things that we want on paper. But that version, that paper has to translate into reality. And it's the same for yourself. You can't be perfect on paper. You have to be a good person in real life. It's the way that you act, the way that you treat people, not just the accomplishments and the things that you have. And I think that says so much more about a person than all of the things that they've achieved. But you're right, we wear these things almost like they are badges of honor. And I think society has conditioned us, obviously, to want these things. And you also said something about soulmates. I actually think we could do a whole episode on what soulmates are.
Yeah, there's so much like studies and like quantum physics and the attachment theory actually talks about this.
Yeah.
And like they could say that could be like the idea of soulmates. And that's why I keep referring back to the attachment theory. Because if you read that study, it literally, because quantum physics is considered pseudoscience in many ways because it's based on like atomic, it's just like physics of the quantum. So nobody really knows anything because you can't measure it. But I do think that that's like, I would love one day for like spirituality and science to mix together so that we can understand the soul, love, all these emotions that we're feeling, not just looking at it biologically, but also spiritually.
You know what I think is really interesting, and this just occurred to me. You know how we do so much research about outer space, about what's in our oceans, about what the universe is. We don't do that for our hearts. We don't do that for the soul. We don't do that. I mean, yes, now with psychology, we're looking more into the power of the mind, but I think there are so many things that are immeasurable that we almost forget about them. But even the heart, I learned this the other day, but apparently the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. And I think that is almost also speaking to this kind of universal essence that exists in all of us. And you always speak about our nafses and the chakras that are in our body. They communicate with us in ways that are immeasurable. But I think one day science will be able to measure those things, and we're coming closer to it than ever. It's just that it's not as concrete. So I don't think researchers spend as much time on it.
Also, because there has never been an urgency for material like this. And you need to understand that a lot of scientific studies need money to be conducted. And money normally in the science world goes towards tech or like studies that are urgent or studies that could make money eventually. So the problem is that, when Rumi says we need a society that everyone does everything they love, if that was truly true, and if we can accomplish that where everyone just does what they love and not what makes money for them, our entire societies would be based on better common grounds. And because scientists cannot go and study the things they want, so they have to like research whatever, like
well, they have to research physical matter, not non-physical.
Exactly.
And that's the same like with quantum physics. That's most of them are theoretical physicists, so they look into these things, but they are not as concrete.
Or sometimes they just stumble upon stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So,
but I mean, some of the greatest minds, like Albert Einstein, right?
A lot of scientists, when you look into their lives, at some point in their life, towards the end of their life mostly, they come towards spirituality, because there's a point where science meets with spirituality, and regardless of what your beliefs are and stuff, like a lot of scientists go to look for religious figures to try to get answers for the findings that they have had. So I've read a lot of like in the biography of Einstein, he met with Professor, I forgot his name, but he was a Persian guy. He was Hafiz, like he what do you call it? The Hafiz of Quran?
Hafiz Quran, memorized the Quran.
Like the full Quran, yeah? So he was a scientist, but he was also like an Islamic scientist. And then Tesla looked at yogis or like spiritual leaders in like Hindu religion. A lot of Western scientists go towards Hinduism or like yogis because it's more fluid than Islam, because Islam seems so strict to them. So,
Oh, that makes sense, though. But I do definitely think there's a world where they both meet. I think it's interesting because in this episode, although we're talking about love, I think there's so much that goes into love that I almost want to ask you.
Okay.
If you had to put like one sentence, what is love? What would you say? And I don't think I have an answer either. Yeah, think about it. Maybe we can come back to this at the end of the podcast and kind of see like what love is.
Okay.
I've asked a few people and I've got some interesting answers. So someone earlier today,
tell me.
Someone earlier today said that love is the feeling when someone else's happiness becomes your own. And I thought that was sweet.
Okay.
I've heard people say, what has someone else said to me? About it being, like I said earlier in the podcast, a universal force that connects people. I think the interesting thing is a lot of the time when you ask people about love, they will obviously go into attachment. But I don't know, if you had to ask me what love is, I guess I said it in the beginning of the episode. I just think it's an energetic force that connects us all. And I think to me, the way that I see love is it's something that can overcome everything. So if you flow with love in your heart at all times and you go through life with love as a force of love, I don't think you'll ever experience issues in your life. If you do things with pure intentions and with a pure heart, I think no matter what circumstances or experiences you go through, whether they're good or bad, in the end, that love that you put out will always find you.
I remember when I was a student and I was studying psychology, one of my professors told us that love, she built this like imagery in our minds where the pillars for true love are respect, truth, and like a few other things. So it's very difficult to like narrow down the concept of love in one word, but to me, love is truth. And it hurts.
Love hurts.
Not love, but the truth hurts because it's the stripping of the self you've built. So it hurts for you. And that's why romance has always been, heartbreak has been romanticized, because that's what happens to people. They have to shred the self in order to find love. So either you do it or life will do it to you. If everything is energy and everything is ultimately God, then God would strip you of everything until you are purely love. And the first thing that you have to face in order to even understand love is truth.
I love
Like
that.
it is what it is.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. I feel like I'm someone that says the word love a lot in my day-to-day life. I'll be like, hi, lovely. Hi, love. I love you. I love this. I love that.
That's beautiful.
But it's my favorite word. I don't think there's anyone in the world that loves love more than me.
But you also love truth.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult, but you get there.
Yeah.
So also another thing is that words have a lot of power. And so when you keep resonating with love, the word love even, you are resonating with it. So ultimately, it will become a moral compass or like a guiding compass towards that which you're seeking, which is love, 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 you know?
It's so true.
So you might not find it in exactly how the schema you've built in your mind, which is a partnership, but from looking at you right now sitting here, the fact that you're so beautiful, that you have that natural nose, your eyes are that color, you are loved. God loved you enough to paint that face. Like, please. Really, our health, the cells in our body, you know what I mean? We're so loved that you are finding it in other forms. It's just that, again, negative things hit us harder.
So true.
The positive has to be constantly reminded of. So we think of when it's, you know what I mean? Like you have to find love. A lot of people, like you said, in marriages, like in the 1960s, people, wait, let me phrase it this way. There's two things that are the most searched, which is manifestation, because people are not happy with where they're at, or relationship advice. Both those topics come to the fact that nobody wants to face the truth, sit down with themselves in that moment and realize they are truly blessed. You have a body that's functioning with so many different systems. Your nervous system, your lymphatic system, your metabolism. You know, there's so many systems that are working. You have a consciousness that responds back to you. You have two arms and a leg. Like one of the things that my mom once told me, she was like, think of your arms as your best friends. So you have to be grateful for all those things. And when you actually sit with yourself and you notice these things, you won't be searching for those two topics because you have it in this moment. You have to come back to the now and stop having attachment to the past and the future, or like fears or worries. So that's why also love, the opposite of love could be fear. And so going back to what my mom said, she was like, your best friend, like think of your arms as your best friends. They hold you. They rub your face, like they brush your hand, like actually give them faces and imagine them as arms, as like friends, you know what I mean? And then you realize that you're never alone. You have two arms.
That's actually so beautiful. And actually one of the things, like for people that have anxiety, for example, if you just gently hug yourself, it reduces anxiety in your body. So it's very true.
The world could be burning down and I get in my covers and I just do this and I feel so cute and like just like whimsical.
It just calms you down. It calms
I
your
love
nervous
it.
system down.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's very easy to get caught up in this idea of lack. But when we come back to the present moment and we can actually look at all that we have. And I think you've said this so many times in all the episodes we've done, but people genuinely forget how blessed they are. We're not living in a war zone. We're not living in a dangerous environment. We have food. We have nice cars. We have nice houses. Everything is given to us. Even the word nice is wrong. Even if you don't have a nice car and you just have a car, that's still something to be grateful for. And I think we often forget that. So it's really important to come back to it and to have love for every single thing in your life, even the things that maybe are not where you want them to be. Like, for example, even if someone is trying to lose weight, does that mean you shouldn't love yourself where you are now? Of course not. You have to love yourself and your life at no matter what stage you're in. So I think it's a nice reminder to have.
Also, if you truly love yourself and you're at peace with yourself, you won't even have weight issues. If you really want to be honest with yourselves, because I've had an eating disorder before, and it was because I really disliked the life that I was living. Because when you get busy, I notice like when I'm busy and I love what I do, I don't even want to eat. I don't think about food.
That's very true.
Again, my glass is empty, so I want food to fill me in so that I feel something.
Yeah, actually, it's very true. So I grew up as well. I had multiple eating disorders all throughout my life. And even if you go to any therapist or psychiatrist, they will tell you that eating disorders are never about food. A lot of the times they're about control. They're about this idea of freedom. They're about the idea of, I read this the other day, that a lot of people that with eating disorders, it's because they want to, they can't handle the weight of the food, of their feelings. So then they will resort to binging and purging and doing things like that as a way to expel those emotions from their body, which is something I've done a lot in my life. And also it's a way to almost disappear. So by starving yourself and limiting food. And you're right, it's never about food. It's about this idea of wanting to change what's in your life.
Also, when you think about it, like, it's disrespectful to the food that you're eating, because food has a consciousness. That's why when you pick an apple and you put it there, it starts rotting. It's still alive. Yeah. So the fact that you would eat without producing anything or any other energy, and you're just sitting there and like filling yourself up, the food will help you, because it does, you know. It sacrifices its life for your livelihood. But the fact that we abuse that shows that we don't even love that which we eat or ourselves or the life that we live. And ultimately, all those people are looking for a partner also.
That's so true.
Because they can't wait to ruin his life too. Wallah, I can't. You get what I mean? Like, not only are you abusing every single thing that has been given to you, now you can't wait. You desire a relationship. It's like, take a look at where you're at realistically, or being truthful to yourself. You're not there.
But I think it's very difficult to look in the mirror and to understand what's wrong with you. I think so. For example, I'm going to talk about my own experience when it came to love and dating. I'm someone that's very self-aware, and I'm not saying this to like just brag about myself. I genuinely overthink things a lot. And so I always look at myself and dissect my own life. I dissect my actions and the reasons why I do certain things. But when it came to love, for years and years and years, I couldn't figure out why I had the dating life that I did. And maybe it's because a lot of it was rooted in childhood trauma that I was kind of unaware of. And I always viewed the world through rose-colored lenses. And so I always chose to see the best in people, even when it wasn't there. But the truth is, the reason I could never find the person I wanted, whether I realized it or not, is because I had commitment issues. And I was not confronting myself about it. I thought I wanted love, but what I actually wanted was this idea of a person, a perfect person, that was only perfect on paper. And when they translated to reality, they weren't perfect, but I never paid attention to it because I was only experiencing things through my own trauma. And that's what most of us are doing. We're experiencing things through our own trauma, trying to rewrite a story that we experienced in our childhood, but we're not able to do so. So we just keep meeting the same person over and over and over again. And the only way to break out of that cycle is to actually take a look at yourself and ask yourself, okay, if I keep attracting emotionally unavailable people, maybe it's because I'm emotionally unavailable. Oftentimes, and you've also said this, oftentimes the things we experience are mirrors of us. People are mirrors. And the greatest way to see yourself is through somebody else's eyes.
You know, like with me personally, I'm an active dreamer and I astral travel, and I've seen, ever since I was a kid, I would see my nasib in my dreams. I've told Donna about it. So I've always known that there is this person and that I have to attain a certain amount of light to be able to attract that person, okay? And I know the science behind, or the spiritual science behind attracting a nasib, like to the T. The one time that I dated, that person that I met looked like the person I would see in my dreams. So I thought it's that person. But then later on, now that I know the truth, I still want to date because sometimes I get so frustrated. because I'm like, I can't wait anymore. How am I supposed to do this? And like, then I have to talk myself into it. I'm like, if you cannot preach what you don't practice. And if you tell people that this is the ultimate love, is divine love, and when you ultimately love God, your nasib will be attracted to you, because ultimately loving God is also being a being that resonates with the frequency of God. So you will attract that person, but you just don't want to put the work in. Because it's very difficult, you know? Like, let me tell you a dream that I had yesterday. So remember I told you like a couple weeks ago, I had a dream where I looked at, so not a dream, but when I was astro traveling, I looked at myself in the mirror and I saw worms that were coming out of my mouth, because that day I had said certain things and I knew that this is going to happen to me, because now my nafs was resonating with those low frequency words that I had used. And then I saw like my barzakh face, which happens with your nafses. They start resonating the energy, and immediately it affects, because your nafs is not a physical body, it's an energetical body. So that body starts shifting, okay? So yesterday, after working so much on that certain flaw that I had, or that sin, or my certain nafs that had this problem, last night I was like astro traveling and I passed by a mirror, and I normally don't look into mirrors in my astro traveling, because like I don't want to see the reflection of me, because it really bugs me, because I'm working on myself, and like it's a constant reminder that I'm not good enough. And it's very difficult to work on your apps. But yesterday I was looking into a mirror and I literally saw like light in my face, and I saw a glow. And I was so proud of myself, because I worked on every single thing. I don't want to, yeah, I'm doing well. So like, that is ultimate, like your energetical body needs to resonate with God's frequency, and then you start attracting them. Anyway, when we do the episode on nafs, or if we ever do astral traveling or like dreams and stuff, I will explain this stuff in a better terms.
I think we should, everyone just comment, what do you want the next episode to be on? Soulmates, dreams, what else did you say?
The nafs.
Spirituality. And we can get into it. I think, yeah, I agree with that 100%, because the world is mirrored back to us. Everything we see is a reflection of who we are. So when you're working on yourself constantly, you're going to attract people who are doing the same. So I actually wanted to dive into this, and it's something that we always talk about. People always say, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Men are so different in love. Women are so difficult in love. And we always talk about the differences between men and women, but we never really pause to ask why men and women are so different in love. And it goes beyond just psychology. It actually goes into biology. So I was actually researching the types of hormones that are released in men and women when they are in love. And here's the interesting thing. So we all know about oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It's released through physical touch, through trust, through intimacy. Women, oxytocin is actually amplified by the presence of estrogen. So that means women release more oxytocin and feel more oxytocin, which is why if you're intimate with someone and you're physically intimate specifically, you'll often feel a lot closer to them. In men, on the other hand, they release a hormone called vasopressin. Vasopressin is what's known as the kind of hormone that makes a man have this drive to claim and protect a woman. But the interesting thing is that men will only release vasopressin when they care about somebody. So they don't always release it. They can be around someone that they don't necessarily care for, and they can spend as much time with that person. But until they take the mental note where, oh, I actually like this girl, she's someone I'm going to take seriously, they won't release vasopressin. Women, on the other hand, any form of physical intimacy and closeness will release oxytocin. And actually in men, oxytocin is dampened by the effects of testosterone, so they don't feel it as strongly. So it's almost like this divine masculine and feminine energy that's represented through our hormones. And that's why men and women are so different in love. And that's why there's this metaphor I heard years ago where it's like women are like a bowl of water. No matter what they have going on in their life, no matter if that bowl of water is full, you can always have room for love. The water may spill out of their cup, but they'll always make room for it. Versus men are like a brick wall. They have to selectively remove those bricks to let someone else in. What do you think about that?
Okay, this is a lot to break. So the first part, the different hormones. When you were explaining that whole thing, the imagery that was going on in my mind so that I can better understand what you were saying, when you said that men associate love with protection and safety and security, these are all things that are associated with nafs al-ammara, or your root chakra. So I was imagining just roots. And then when you think of affection or love, it's almost like it branches of a tree, where if there's a breeze, they feel it and they kind of like shiver, and you know what I. So really, it's like divine masculinity is like roots, and divine femininity is like leaves, where it gives shade and protects, and it flows in the breeze. So I 100% agree with that. However, you also have to understand that when these studies are done, a lot of those people might not even be in love. They you know what I mean? Like, there is no way to measure love, really. So what they're actually researching is their biological reaction to what they think is love.
That's true.
So I don't know, even with these studies, I feel like when it comes to love, I always say this: souls don't have gender. Souls don't have bodies or race or names. So love to us is like a universal thing.
That's very true.
There is, for man and woman, love the same. If you truly love, you're loving the same. The problem is the idea of love that you have is polluted. So you think you're releasing different hormones. You think that the girl you love, you have to protect and do this and that. But if you look at me, you could say that I'm maybe more divinely masculine, or like I have a masculine energy about me. I like to think that I'm balanced. However, most of the time, with the circumstances that I live in, I resonate with my masculine energy more, because I have to protect and take care of myself a lot of the times. So I don't have anybody else who does that for me, so I do that for myself constantly. And being a single woman, you have to kind of protect your energy field, right? In order for me to feel divinely feminine, I have to have a divinely masculine energy that kind of shields me, so I can, protect myself. But when you think about that, I have that. I have that when I love. I protect. My first instinct of loving a friend, even a girlfriend, is protection.
But no, it's actually very true, because vasopressin and oxytocin are released in both men and women. It's not selective to gender, but the roles that they play are either amplified or dampened by the presence of estrogen and testosterone. So yes, while they're present in both, but typically speaking, women are more inclined to release oxytocin. Yeah. So even when we give birth, for example, you release oxytocin, and that's what actually bonds you to your child, which is why when you give birth, they will often give you your baby straight away, and you'll have that skin-on-skin contact, because skin-on-skin contact releases oxytocin. So it helps you better bond to your child. But it's true that in both men and women, you will have vasopressin and testosterone and oxytocin as well. It's just interesting, because I think while, yes, there is a higher definition of love, once we're in these physical bodies and the way that they interact with the world, I do think these chemicals alter the way that we experience things.
What is your idea of love?
I think it's kind of like the words that come to my mind when you ask me that are the words I said throughout this podcast. Universal force that exists in everything. And I think, to me, to be in love is to be in awe. So in awe of everything around us. And when I say awe, it's that feeling where you almost just forget that anything else exists other than that thing in front of you.
No, but what I mean is, like, what do you think of love physically? Like in a partnership also?
Oh, in a partnership?
Sorry if I wasn't,
Oh, okay. And also, something we could talk about is love languages. Like, you know how you complimented me throughout the podcast so much? My biggest love language is words of affirmations.
What else?
What other love languages do I have? Physical touch is a big one for me. So like hugging, holding hands. And then there's gift giving. There's acts of service. And then there's quality time. Quality time, physical touch, and words of affirmations are my top 3.
Okay, I'm going to be controversial. I don't care for words of affirmation at all, because I'm emotionally intelligent enough. I will know if you love me. And you cannot gaslight me with words at all. And I don't want to hear it, because I know it. So words have no meaning to me.
Do you know that's one of the things I love most about you is the way that you carry yourself in the world. I feel like you're someone that is very sure of yourself, and that's such a nice energy to be around, because when I'm around you, for example, I don't doubt or question myself as much, because your energy rubs off on me. And I think it's so powerful that like you know who you are and what you have to offer.
And that's not perfect. I'll work on it. However, I'm very certain of things. I know them because I'm feeling them. I trust my intuition. This is something that I've had to work on to get to this stage because my biggest mistake has been doubt. So I work on that. Another love language that I like physical touch, but I don't like it also because there's a time and place for it. And especially like even though like maybe females are generically like keen to like want to like cuddling and physical touch, I don't like somebody sleeping in my space or cuddling me because when I sleep, I'm refreshing or like putting myself in charge. So I don't like physical touch because then I don't know, I feel like you're almost like not letting me recharge fully because you keep touching me and you don't understand that like physical touch has so much power. Yeah. Have you ever been even like gently touched, but because the act behind it or the person doing it has such bad intent that you almost
recoil?
Yeah, recoil. So I don't like physical touch. I only like it when the intent behind it is loving. So physical touch is out of the question. I love acts of service because to go out of your way to do something for someone else, that would mean that you are prioritizing them in your life in some way. And what else is there?
Quality time and gift giving.
But there's 5, no? Words of affirmation,
quality time, physical touch, gift giving, acts of service.
Acts of service and quality time. So I love quality time, acts of service, and gift giving.
Yeah.
Because going out of your way to buy me a gift, for example, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like
prioritizing me.
Thing,
yeah,
100%. I think it's interesting. It's so important in relationships to like discuss these things of what your love languages are, and also what you said is something that people don't speak about. But actually, I saw this post the other day on Instagram that was like 20 uncomfortable questions to ask your partner, and it was random things like cuddling while sleeping, yes or no.
Yeah.
Toothpaste from the middle of the tube or the end of the tube, like random things. But it's so true that the small things that people don't pay attention to get amplified so much in a relationship. When you don't live with someone, it's all well and great. But if you're in that person's physical space, you need to talk about even the smallest things in order to have a compatible relationship.
Another thing that when I was like a practicing psychologist, another thing that I always tell people that you need to ask, a lot of issues happen with marriages in their physical life, in their intimate moments, and it's because they never ask each other their preferences in their like libido, like their
their libido. That's a big one.
Yeah, libido.
No, it's true. That was on the list too.
Because it's very important. How many times a week would you want to physically be intimate with someone? Yeah. And if their answer is too high or too low, some people really like. You know how like there's people who are energetical vampire who will steal your spark or the light in your face, literally. Like a lot of people don't understand. I will explain the nafs better. Some people get in relationships with other people and you see the woman losing her spark because they're literally sucking your life force energy from you. And there is a quantum physics explanation for this. There's also spiritual explanations for this. But also people do it with interaction, with physical like intimacy.
That's actually really true. And I can always say this, like you can tell if someone is bad for you if like after spending time with them, you feel physically drained.
If somebody wants to like have a lot of intimate time, they're for sure an energetical vampire. Because again, everything needs to be practiced with balance.
That's interesting.
If you meet somebody and immediately, you said this to yourself, you said when you meet somebody and immediately you want to bond with them on like a physical level and you're very attracted to them, is because it's all lust.
Oh yeah, but
they're mirroring you. Yeah.
About chemistry that's like rooted in trauma. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's again, I wanted to tell you this. Let me tell you, my idea of love comes from, I've realized this. I don't like when the Western interpretation of love. I like the Eastern interpretation of love. Because in the West, even if you watch their movies, it's immediate intimacy. Like Friends with Benefits, movies that are just like in the first 10 minutes, the man and the woman are together. And versus the East, where like when you watch Bollywood movies, because I watched Bollywood movies growing up, my idea of love is 2 hours of yearning and then maybe the guy will pass by the girl and her scarf will gently touch him, and then he'll die for like 10 minutes in a song, right? Like he's expressing his love for her. I love the idea of yearning, because to me, anything that comes easy leaves easy. So again, love has to be something that you built on, because in order to be in love, you need to face each other's truths. And in order to do that, first you have to help each other maybe unbuild the self that they've built. It's like pieces of Lego. It has to break down and rebuild. And by the time people want to break down, they leave each other, because it's so much. Because now you're seeing you're unveiling this statuesque figure that you've built in your mind based on the delusions, attachment, fears that you have with your ego. And when you unveil the statue and you see what's underneath it, you're like, no, this is not what I signed up for. Right? And then and that's why the rate for divorces are so high, because there was no time to build the love that you yearn for.
I think love can come quickly and still be powerful, but only when you're operating from a healed and healthy place. I think when you meet people and you're still operating from a low frequency of your own trauma, that's when you attract a love that comes as quickly as it leaves. But when you're operating from a place of healthy love and you have love for yourself, you're going to attract people who mirror that, and it will actually be easy. I don't believe that love is ever hard. If it's real love, it will actually be very effortless. But I agree with you in the idea that it shouldn't always move so quickly. Sometimes it's very important to take your time to actually get to know someone on a mental level before you do it on a physical level, because it takes time for those emotions to catch up. And like we were saying earlier, women through intimacy release a lot of oxytocin. So when you're physically too intimate with someone very quickly, you will unintentionally become attached, and it will actually cloud your judgment. So you don't know if that person is actually good for you or if it's just your oxytocin speaking.
Yeah. But I don't know. I can't comment on that, because I have to meet my nasib to... When I meet my nasib, I'll tell you like if it was instant or if it was something that because
Took
I don't
time.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the last time I thought it was instant, it was it was a replica.
I've experienced love that happens like instantly from trauma, and I've experienced it from a healthy place, which is why I say that both are possible.
I've only experienced once, and that one time really I thought it is the man that I've seen in my dream, and it was not. So I realized that the reason why I've even learned to trust my intuition is because I remember the butterflies were coming from a place that they shouldn't, and I was nervous around him. Yeah. And I even said to people I don't like him, but because he looked the part so well, like not only for me but for everyone around me. From the outside it was like a perfect Greek god, and from the inside I thought it's a man that I'm seeing in my dreams.
But
It wasn't.
But I think that's a beautiful place.
I paid a price to learn that lesson, believe me.
It's important though. I think every love that we experience in our life is a teacher for us. It's showing us things not only about ourselves, but the type of love that we want to receive.
Yeah.
And so if we actually take note of the things that we like and we don't like from every relationship we've had, we're going to better understand ourselves and better understand the type of love we want to experience.
Yeah.
So love may look different for each of us, shaped by biology, by memory, by wounds, by healing. But at its highest form, love is not something we feel, it's something that we are. So we would like to end this episode with a question asking you, what is love to you? Is it a choice? Is it a feeling? Is it a knowing? And have you ever felt love fully? But like every question we ask here, it's not about having the perfect answer. It's about allowing ourselves to wonder, to reach, and to remember that what we seek is also seeking us.